Thank you very much, and come by and enjoy a taste of history.
If you're in the mood for the best seafood south of the Chesapeake,
Look at Satira.
Yes, indeed, I did mean that. All right, welcome to the Sunshine Sports Report for 2020. First show
Yes.
of the entire year.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, Merry Christmas, because we missed you Christmas and New Year's.
Happy
And
Kwanzaa.
Kwanzaa, for those of you who are of the like mind. And boy, we got busy show. A lot to
stuff
talk
to
about.
Yes, sir.
Since we've been gone, the middle of December, we're now in the NFL playoffs,
Yes.
deep into it.
Yep.
We're about to crown a college football champion in about, what's today, Thursday? About 3 days.
Yes.
And there's so much to talk about. In fact, let's go ahead and kick things off by talking about the college football playoffs. Clemson, as usual,
Yes.
4 of the last 5 years, they have been in it. They've won it the last, 2 years?
Yeah.
2 years running, 3 out of the last 4. As they go into this game, it's very similar to last year in that they are an underdog to a SEC team.
Yes.
Remember that last year? People were talking about how in the world can Clemson deal with the Alabama passing attack?
I remember.
Did they?
They dealt with it and then some.
And then some. Same situation this year.
They're dealing with the Heisman Trophy winner.
You're right.
Potential first overall pick, Joe Burrows. And a Clemson offense that looks, albeit almost unstoppable.
Well, Dabo has done a tremendous job over the last 10 years of recruiting. And it doesn't look like it's about to slow down.
Well, Ed Orgeron is, the players went to bat for him to ensure that he was going to be their coach.
Right.
And, this is only his second year, and he's already showing that he's the right man for the job.
Second full year, right?
Yeah.
Second full year. Well, the thing about Louisiana, it's a fertile ground for high school sports, high school football.
Yes.
Therefore, it's a fertile ground for college football players. I mean, you look at the schools here in Florida. They go out and they mindfully go after players from Louisiana.
Yeah.
They have over the 15 to 20 years at least, maybe more. And Alabama, they've got their share of Louisiana high schoolers.
I guess it's just something in that gumbo.
Something in something, because and now Ed Orgeron, as you say, he's tapped into it and he's keeping his boys, the Louisiana boys, home. They're not getting out, going to Texas, and they're not going to Florida. They're not going to Alabama. They're not sneaking out to Georgia. They're staying there, and it shows they're one of the top teams in the league. I mean, in the country.
It's not even close. It's not even close. I mean, like literally every task that has been put in front of this LSU team, they've not only passed it, but surpassed it. And they deserve to be the number 1 team in the land right now.
So, okay, before we give our picks out, this is not the first time that LSU has played Clemson, but you'd be surprised. The first time they played was in 1958. 1958. But they've only played 3 times since then, and that's about 62 years. In 62 years, they've only played 3 times. First time was a 7-0 Clemson win back in 1958.
Yes, sir.
The second time was in 1996, where let me make sure I got the score right. LSU lost 24-25 to Clemson, and No, actually, I'm wrong. That was not 1996. The 1996 score was 10-7. And then the 2012 bowl matchup was 25-24. So they've played close games over the years. So if this is a trend, we're going to have an outstanding game on Monday.
Plus, you're also looking at two of the premier quarterbacks in college football, and Trevor Lawrence and Joe Burrows. So, I mean, does this turn into a shootout?
Hopefully it does. I like offensive games. I like it. So if it winds up 42-36 or 42-48, I love it.
Last man scoring?
Last man with the ball.
Right.
Last man with the ball. Which we know what's going to happen with Joe Burrows next year.
Yes.
He's going to the NFL. He may be number one or he may be number two. He's going to be a top pick.
Right.
If you're Trevor Lawrence, do you play next year?
So far, he hasn't intimated to whether or not he's going to declare for the draft.
No. He has no choice. He can't. He's only 2 years out of high school. You got to be 3 years out of high school.
Okay.
So he
can't come out this year.
He can't. No, he can't come out. So, do you go back to Clemson? Do you risk being injured?
What do you mean, sit out a year?
Yeah.
No, and the reason why you don't, because at the end of the day, right now you are potentially, whenever you come out, you are arguably the first overall pick.
Right.
You're one of the highest recruited, highest scouted quarterbacks in the last 10 years. So
what happens if you're hurt, though?
if you're hurt,
Yeah, that's
I mean,
the point.
That's the game. That's the part of the game.
That's the point. Why not just stay out and practice and try to get better?
Because playing the game of football is what gets you better, not practicing. Practice doesn't get you better. Playing the game of football gets you better.
Well, okay, I'll go along with that. But
plus, if he goes off somewhere,
say like for instance he gets an injury like Tua. Mm-hmm. Tua probably would have been, if not the number one pick quarterback.
10.
Now with the injury, there's a little doubt. There's even some whispers that maybe he's a little injury prone.
Exactly.
Now we won't know, but it appears that Tua is on the way to be mended, and it's going to be 100%. That's what we, the public, get.
Right.
But the NFL and their doctors are going to know exactly what the story is.
Oh, yeah.
And so when draft day comes, will Tua drop because of the injury that we were talking about?
I think
it's more serious.
I think dropping for him is the best thing that could happen.
Why?
Because if you drop,
wait a minute, that's money. You're talking about money now.
Okay, yes.
And not only are we talking about money, we're talking about guaranteed money.
But you're talking about an individual that has been proven to have been injury prone.
Mm-hmm.
So he's going into the league. He's going to go to a bad team.
Mm-hmm.
He's going to go in there and he's going to be one player amongst a bunch of bad players.
Mm-hmm.
So unless you go to a team that has a solid offensive line, you're in trouble. If you're injury prone, you are running the risk. Yes, you may get that nice top pick money, but how long does that money last if you can't stay healthy? Whereas if right now, if he drops, he has the potential to go to a team that's going to pick him up as a luxury pick. You pick him up as a luxury pick, he gets an opportunity to sit back, watch the offense, watch how everything plays out, and allow the team to build up that offensive line, allow them to build up and also learn behind a veteran quarterback. So I would go as far as to say the best thing to happen is to fall to the Patriots.
The fact of the matter is, college kids, actually high school kids don't think that way. They want to go in and they want to play football. And not only do they want to play football, but they want to get paid. That's part of keeping score. The more money you get, the higher your score is.
But the problem with that is longevity. How many times have we seen individuals
Kids
go in
ain't
there
thinking
and
about
grab that big
longevity.
chip?
We think about longevity because we've had the opportunity to live long enough to realize what longevity is. The kids coming out of college and out of high school have no idea what longevity is. All
But
they know,
do. Agents understand longevity, and the agent is the one that's
but
going to
the
be
fact
telling
of the
these
matter
kids
is,
what
we're not really talking about Tua. We're talking about Trevor Lawrence. So you used Tua as a way of expressing what you think Lawrence should do. Lawrence should come back, play the required year that he has to play,
right.
and win, lose, or draw in this game, and
Then the other side of it
let
is
the chips fall where they may.
the other side of it is if he goes off somewhere and goes to practice, what is he not getting? Exposure. Last time they saw you was over a year ago.
Wait a minute. He has an agent. The agent's constantly in meetings and throwing out tape. He's not going to be forgotten.
It's not that he's going to be forgotten. At the end of the day, if he's not on TV, then whoever the next flavor of the month quarterback that comes along is going to basically take that slot. They're going to take that attention away from him.
Well, that's true. That's a point. That's a point that I can get on board with. But that injury just looms large because Lloyd's of London is going to what's the $5 million? Is that the most that you can get from Lloyd's of London?
I'd have to look it up, but I mean, yeah, I'm sure at this point in his career, he has been insured at this point. I'm sure that there's an insurance policy that has been put out on him at this point. I'm sure that he's well understanding that yes, there's a good possibility that whatever I have coming to me may be taken away in one play.
One more thing on Trevor Lawrence before we get out of here, and talk a little bit more about the game and the upcoming game. What is this a case of showing where I guess he's like 19, maybe 20 now? Why isn't he allowed to go into the NFL? Why shouldn't he?
Well, I mean, the game is so much faster. The guys are so much bigger.
Yeah, but the fact of the matter is, you and I both know he's going to be a top 10 pick if he leaves college on Tuesday and goes and says he's going to the NFL.
But it's all about one preservation as far as physical, making sure that these individuals are physically prepared for the league, and also making sure these individuals are mentally prepared for the grind that the league brings.
You know what it's all about? It's about the NFL Players Association. They want their members to stay in as long as they possibly can. And that's what it's about.
Well, I mean, that also
That's
factors
exactly
into it.
what it's about.
But why would I want to see a 19-year-old kid that's not prepared to play for the NFL
But
ruin the product?
but they're saying that he is. They're saying he's.
Everybody says they are until they come in and play.
No. He's not saying it. The scouts are saying it.
Even the scouts.
The scouts are
the
saying
scouts said that Jamarcus Russell was a can't-miss prospect. And how did that work?
He played pretty well until he stopped practicing and he blew up to become lineman size.
I mean, yeah, but that's my whole point.
That's the reason. It wasn't that they misjudged his talent. He didn't work on his talent.
But that's what I'm saying about you have to be mentally prepared for this league. You have to be mentally prepared to be able to deal with.
Well,
what this
if
league
he's not
brings
mentally
you.
prepared, then he's out of a job.
But the problem is that now you're talking about the NFL is all about their product. They're putting out a product that is that people are paying for. If you're putting out a product that is subpar, then no one wants to pay for that.
He is an NFL snob because they do it in tennis. An 18-year-old can play tennis. An 18-year-old can play golf. An 18-year-old can play baseball. They can actually play basketball professionally, but they can't play in the NFL.
Name one of those games where you got a 300-pound guy with padding on him coming at you, looking to drive you into the ground.
Hockey, they can also play when they're 18 years old.
Yes, you're all right. Hockey, they can play when they're 18 years old, but hockey is still not the NFL.
And they're coming at you at what, 40, 45 miles an hour? That is the equivalent of a 300-pound man with pads falling on you. And not only is he falling on you, he's falling on you on hard ice. So no, that don't hold water.
It holds plenty of water.
That holds no water because
the product the product of the NFL is much bigger than the product of the NHL.
well, we ain't talking about the size of the product. We're talking
we
about
are talking about the size of the product. You're talking about billions of dollars.
We're
I'm not
talking
gonna-
about players having the opportunity and the right to play.
That's not a right. It's a privilege. It's not a right to play in the NFL. You're not.
Okay. The privilege to play in the NFL.
Right, and as
the
it being an entertainment
And so
product,
don't let anybody tell you that the privilege is because of the safety of the incoming player. It has nothing to do with the safety of the incoming player nor the well-being. It has everything to do with the Players Association. It also has a lot to do with the NFL themselves because what happens is if you have an 18-year-old or 19-year-old coming into the league, that gives them 2 more years of being able to play in a league, which means that they've got to pay that player that much more money. That's what it's all about. That's what it's always been about.
but also the problem that you have is
So
that the farming ground for the NFL is the NCAA.
Right.
So
why
not? You're not going to cut your nose off to spite your face.
So why not pay your players? Why doesn't the NFL pay the players? Major League Baseball does.
What do you mean pay the college players?
You just said it was
Because
a farming
it's
system.
because it's against the NCAA rules.
Oh, that rule is nothing that can't be changed. You can't
baseball
change it.
minor league doesn't mean that it's not a college. It's not you going to class. It's not you basically getting.
But
an
it can be
education.
it can be changed.
It can be changed, but it's
Are
not.
we
going
are
to.
we watching the highlights of the Ohio State Clemson game? Are we watching it? We're not. You can put it. Go ahead. We can watch it while we talk about this. Ohio State jumped out to a lead, and it looked like they were going to be the class of that game, didn't they?
Yeah. And Trevor Lawrence did what great quarterbacks do.
Trevor Lawrence,
What the-
ATN. Mm-hmm. But Trevor Lawrence, now he really secured whatever doubts about it with that run. What was it?
Touchdown run was
70 yards? Something?
Yeah, that was an electrifying run, and in crunch time on top
It was
of that.
exactly.
That just shows the mettle of that individual.
It shows his athletic ability.
That too.
You can have metal all you want to. I had the metal, but I'm not going to run 70 yards and outrun a DB. He outran a DB.
I bet you John Elway is salivating at the opportunity of the possibility of him trying to draft
And he should.
Trevor Lawrence.
And guess what? He should be able to draft him this year, but he won't be.
You think they're going to be that good?
No, he should. No, John Elway.
You talking about that?
Elway should have the right to, but somehow or another they don't.
Well, I mean, next year, depending on who stinks next year.
Oh, by the way, this
an
is
opportunity.
Sunshine Sports Report, and we're broadcasting live on 904live.com. We're on Periscope. We're also on YouTube. If you like our conversation, drop a little comment, share, and like.
Yes.
Definitely share and like. What you think about it? Do y'all think the college players, forget college players, but 18-year-olds, 19-year-olds, should they be able to play in the NFL like they do in most other major sports? In fact, in all major sports.
There's not a whole lot of sports that are like the NFL. You said the NHL, and the NHL is not even on the NFL's level as far as being
popularity. You're talking about
as far as popularity, as far as revenue.
Well, that's popularity. But as far as
it's not popularity.
But as far as physical physicality, it may be even tougher because you play not just one game a week, you play 3, maybe 4 games a week. So the physicality and them worrying about whether or not a 19-year-old knows what to do with money, They don't care about that. And the NFL really doesn't care about it. It's just
They care about it when that 19-year-old is part of the investment of this product, because they're not making billions if that 19-year-old can't make plays to entertain the masses and the crowd on TV.
The 19-year-old will have his shot. If he doesn't perform, he'll be pulled out just like the 33-year-old. They'll move on to somebody else. You said your phrase a few minutes ago was good. The flavor of the month.
Flavor of the month.
And so the NFL spits out players like you fill in the blank. And the age has nothing to do with it. And an 18 or 19-year-old will just add to it. Well, it's what I was telling you. There's two entities that are keeping those players out. It's the Players Association and it's the NFL themselves.
And then the other side, speaking on the Players Association, if you have an individual that is of 33 years old, has been in the league for about 10 years, knows how to play in this league, why should he be pushed out of the league for a 19-year-old that has no idea what he's doing?
Because the 19-year-old is physically better than he is.
No,
it's because the 19-year-old.
You don't know that the 19-year-old is physically better until he actually plays the game.
Well, he won't. Guess what? Guess what? We will never know. According to the NFL, we will never know.
Of course not.
We will never know.
You will know. You will know when it's his time to play, and it's not his time to play yet.
Because the NFL says it's not his time. It doesn't mean it's not his time. It
means if the NFL is what he's looking to make money off of. So yes, they can dictate when it is his time.
Well, they dictate it because they say, we don't want you now. We will get you later. Doesn't mean he can't play.
Doesn't matter whether he can play or not. He's going to play when it's his time to play.
Oh, okay. So in other words, I can't deal with this guy. I can't deal with him. I really can't. I'm telling you. Now, I know 4 Live is what you're watching us on, and this is the Sunshine Sports Report. I'm Greg Daniels. That's Marlon Jones. And we were trying to talk about the Clemson-Ohio State game, which ended up 29-23, close game.
Close game. You came down to the wire.
Ohio State jumped out to a pretty good sized lead.
Yes,
it was like 16-0 before we could really sit down and eat our first chicken wing.
Exactly.
I like to watch football and eat chicken wings. I don't know about y'all.
Then the Clemson defense finally showed up, was able to get some stops.
Well, I think that Venerable kind of figured out what Ohio State was doing.
Right.
He probably didn't, it probably was something they were showing him new wrinkles that weren't on tape. Because you have, 3 weeks, 4 weeks to prepare?
So, about 2 or 3 weeks,
yeah, so the coaches, the offensive coordinators have that long to throw in a wrinkle or two, a look or two that nobody's seen. And once the defense figured it out, then bam. But offensively, everybody talks about Trevor Lawrence, and Trevor Lawrence is, he is what we say he is.
Exactly.
But Etienne is, I think people sleep on him. I think he is coming out. I think this is his 3rd year,
right,
if I'm not mistaken. And he is coming out, and whoever gets him is going to get a tremendous running back. He's big, he's powerful, and he is fast to go along with quick.
Right.
Fast and quick are 2 different things, and he is both of them. And it's going to be on display Monday night against LSU. I don't think LSU has seen a back quite like him. Now, I think he was coming into this season. He was touted as a Heisman candidate, along with Trevor Lawrence. And what was the game that Clemson, was it Georgia Tech? Was that the one they struggled in? I think that was the one they struggled in Georgia
Everybody
Tech.
struggles against Georgia Tech, though.
And when that happened, Clemson, the whole Clemson team was devalued. Instead of they were, I think at the time, number 1.
Right.
And they dropped to.
Which is unfair for them because, I mean, Georgia Tech, which they still run that unconventional offense, which is giving fits to teams year in and year out.
I don't think it was the offense that was so surprising. It's what they did defensively against Clemson because I think Lawrence threw 3 interceptions that game. And so the offense couldn't really get out of their own way.
Which basically sunk his Heisman hopes.
That right there.
Right there.
That pretty, and that's why Clemson is coming in as the number 3 seed in this whole tournament, and probably the reason why they're a 5.5 to maybe 6 point underdog to LSU. I know LSU has pretty much blown out everyone that they faced. Georgia, they beat a really good Alabama team, even though Alabama didn't have their starting quarterback. They still beat them, and probably would have beat them if Tua had played.
And they beat the other starting quarterback for Alabama at Oklahoma, and they blew him out like it wasn't even. They didn't even belong on the field.
Well, no, it was that was their defense. It wasn't the quarterback. Quarterback played pretty well, but the fact that it was a Big 12 team, and the Big 12 teams are noted for not having much defense.
Right.
That's an offensive league, but they, like you said, they did blow them out.
They blew them. I mean, it wasn't even close.
No, it wasn't close.
It wasn't even close. So, I mean, like I said, they're understandably they are the favorites going into this, and I'm going to say that I expect. Well, are we giving our picks yet?
You can give your pick anytime you want to. You want to do it now? You can.
I'm expecting LSU win.
You think LSU will win?
I expect an LSU win.
Well, and since you're doing it, I'm riding with Clemson. I'm riding with the 2-time defending champion. I like the wide receivers. I like their defense.
Yeah.
Now I know that according to this, Clemson was defensively they were. I don't have it on here, but they were in the top 12, I think, top 12, and LSU was a little further down. Now, I take that with a grain of salt, certainly because of who Clemson played versus who LSU played.
Right.
LSU played in a tougher conference, and we have to admit that.
Normally, I would argue that, but yeah, the ACC was definitely down this year.
Offensively, their defense had to look at teams like Florida,
right,
Georgia, Alabama, Oklahoma, Texas A&M.
right.
So they played some of the best offenses in the country,
right.
Not just their own division or not just their own conference, but we're talking about in the entire conference. I mean, it's hard.
And for the majority of those matchups, it was lopsided. They won convincingly.
Well, because their offense went out and they scored and scored and scored some more.
Right.
But their defense took a little hit, but their offense was so much better than their opponent's defense. Because
it didn't really matter.
Yeah, because Oklahoma scored.
Mm-hmm.
Georgia scored. Florida scored.
Mm-hmm.
Alabama scored.
They
all
score more.
They couldn't score enough with this. Now with.
And another thing that I noticed in watching this past game against Oklahoma, even when the game was pretty much in hand in the third quarter, Ed Orgeron was still throwing the ball.
Well, that's his offense. That's his offense. Because he's got players on top of players.
But not even just that. Joe Burrows was still in the game. Their starting offense was still in the game, and they were still attacking as though the game was close. I think a lot has to be said for a team that is going to continue to attack you, whether they're up 30, 40 points until the final whistle. And they just kept attacking. I think Joe Burrows was responsible for 9 touchdowns himself.
Yeah. Okay. Against Oklahoma. Yeah.
So I mean that's your starting quarterback that is in here in a lopsided blowout, throwing 9 touchdown passes.
Was it? Did he throw 9?
Well, no, he threw 8 and then
ran
one
for
in.
1. Yeah.
Right. But I mean that's that's a blowout. That is running the score up.
That's
But
not. I don't consider that running the score up.
I mean, it
because
is running the score up.
No, he was running his offense. So why do you stop? Why do you stop?
I'm not saying that there's a problem with running the score up because at the end of the day, he won. And on top of that, coming into the next game, you don't have to worry about your first string offense having, being lethargic or not being ready to play a full 4 quarters of football. They're used to playing until into the fourth quarter. They're used to playing a full game. They're used to going there and attacking all game long.
When you say, I think that it's more than just 11 players. So they rotate in a lot of players.
But even with that being said, I mean, for you to continue, it's not even about just the players. It's about the game plan of attack. They were throwing the ball deep down the field. It wasn't a situation where they were running the ball, dinking and dunking, just kind of running the clock out. No, they were trying to run the score up as high as they could get.
Do you remember, was it the beginning of last year, Ed Orgeron said this: "We are not going to be a running team anymore. We're going to be an offensive juggernaut." He said it. Mm-hmm. And not only did he say it, he went out and got a NFL coach.
Yeah.
And he implemented the system. So he meant what he said.
And he did exactly what he said he was going to do.
So I have no problem with that.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying.
But I still don't think they beat Clemson. I think Clemson's a more well-rounded team. I think even though they played in a weak, I will say it, a weak ACC, they are talented enough to do it. I think what happened with Ohio State was Ohio State smacked them in the mouth and they said, "Oh, it's time to play football now."
But that's the difference between you smacking them in the mouth, putting up 21 points, and you smacking them in the mouth and putting up 42 points.
Well, no, they're not going to put up.
That's a
they
big
could.
difference.
They could do that, but I think that I think that Clemson can score with them if that's what it turns out to be.
We'll have to see because, like I said before.
So you're liking LSU?
I'm liking LSU based off of what I've seen from this team.
General score, or you just?
Because I feel like it's going to be a blowout. It's really
a blowout.
I think it's going to be a blowout.
Wow.
I think it's going to be a blowout.
Two-time national champion.
Yeah.
2-time defending national champion. Won the championship 3 out of the last 4 years.
It doesn't matter. We're talking about 2020. We're talking about this team, this quarterback, this situation right now. And in 2020, I'm thinking 35-12.
35-12. Well, that's a spanking for sure.
Exactly.
I will go Clemson 34. And I think that Clemson's defensive line gets after Burrows. I'll say 17.
And you also know one of the strengths of that LSU defense is their secondary. And if you're going to be throwing the ball against that secondary.
I didn't necessarily say they were going to win it because I think the key guy on that team is ATN.
Well.
And their offensive line.
But here's where the problem comes in at. So you're saying if ATN is the guy, if that's your key to victory, how much of a factor is he going to be if you're down 21 points?
Well, no one's going to be a factor if you're down 21 points. The whole thing.
I mean, the quarterback would have to be the factor at that point, but you're
So-
going to have
so-
to throw the ball now.
But guess what? Nobody goes out on the field 21 points down.
When you play LSU this year, you have.
So I still like him.
Yeah.
And plus I like Clemson's defense. Their defense was supposed to be not as good as the last couple of years of defense. As it turned out, they were as good, maybe better.
Mm-hmm.
So let's take a timeout. Let's
Yes, sir.
change gears because we've given you the scores for our Clemson and LSU picks.
Mm-hmm.
And last weekend actually, started the NFL playoffs. It was some upsets
Yes.
and
Very much so.
some upsets. And I know you're upset.
No, I'm not upset. I'm not a fan
Some
of that.
upsets and some really good games coming up in a day or two. So this is the Sunshine Sports Report on 904 Live with Greg Daniels and
Marlon Jones.
If you've never been to Caps before, the first time you walk through where the hostess stand is, through the walkthrough, and you see it hits you with surprise, and you look all over. You go, wow, this deck is huge. Look at that view. Oh my gosh, look at how many seats there are. Wow, look at that food, and it's hustle and bustle going on around you, and you're just taking it all in, and you can always tell a first timer at Caps because they're just eyes are wide open and they're amazed with just how this place is run, and it's exciting. It's exciting to watch. When we expanded our deck, it allowed us to have a lot more space. The tables are not crammed. There's plenty of room to walk through in any direction. It's really fun for kids to all kind of gather and play on the tree out there. It's growing out of the sand, and they all climb on it. There's thousands of pictures being taken out there daily. They're right on the water. They go and dip their feet in and play in the sand. And the dock is a great place to wait. You can watch the dolphins. There's a lot of fish out there. Sometimes you see a shark. You can do a lot of boat watching. It's actually really nice, and the view is great. You're right in the sun. The weather is perfect. You get a cool breeze. What's nice is if you live on the Intercoastal, you can just pull your boat right into the dock, come in, eat, get back on your boat, and sail away.
Here are 3 things you need to know about Tunis Wings and Subs. They have 3 convenient locations on North Main Street, University Boulevard, and Sutel Drive. They have the best wings in Jacksonville.
My favorite kind of wings probably had to be the hot, just hot, regular hot.
It's not just wings. It's gyros, shrimp, Philly cheesesteak, salads, burgers.
The Tunis Gyro is my favorite.
It's to die for.
So dine in or drive through at Tunis Wings and Subs.
Want some good fried food? Come see Tunis.
Jacksonville's historic Riverside could be considered the cultural heart of the city. It's even been likened to New York's Greenwich Village with its eclectic mix of shopping and trendy restaurants.
I love Riverside because it is so different than any other part of Jacksonville.
Tree-lined streets and windows filled with charms make this a very walkable part of town. Fill up on boutique bargains in the bohemian Five Points neighborhood. sip fresh squeezed juices in stylish Avondale, and stroll along the beautiful St. John's River in the striking Memorial Park. Then slip indoors to the Sunray Cinema. Its historic beginnings are now highlighted by an offbeat style.
When the theater opened in 1927, it was one of the very first to have two things, one of which is sound and the other is air conditioning.
Today, the first thing you'll notice is personality.
So when people ask what kinds of movies we play most often, I say, hopefully the one that you want to see.
Sunray plays an attractive mixture of blockbusters to independent films with a goal of standing out from the crowd.
And anything that we do that is offered in a typical movie theater, we try to step it up a little bit, like we make our pizza in-house right down to the pizza dough. We have some menu items that give a little shout out to some of the things that make Jacksonville our home. There's a pizza named after a famous mayor. There's pizzas named after films that were made in the Jacksonville area.
Your food is brought right to your seat, and they do it with a conscience, serving popcorn in a bowl and drinks in glasses to minimize trash.
We try to make it as comfortable and as friendly and as personalized as humanly possible.
After a delightful date at the movies, head down the road to the classic Dreamette. They offer soft-served deliciousness with dips and heaping spoonfuls of toppings. The locals have been enjoying it for over 66 years. And trust me, you don't want to miss their most famous banana split in a cup. Sharing treasures in the River City, I'm Janice Jones in Jacksonville for Visit Florida.
Welcome to San Sebastian Winery. My name is Mike. I'd like to personally invite you to come and join me and the others for a tour of our facility.
The tasting starts with a tour where we witness a video and then walk through our facility here and then come down to the tasting counter to taste 7 to 8 different wines.
Our job here at the winery is to show them a good time, also educate them no matter what their knowledge level is about wine. We always enjoy having them leave here with a little bit more than they came.
When we've concluded the tasting, we talk about taking some time to go through the store, go through the shop, look at the wine accessories that we have, decanters, glasses, Venturis, aerators. It's a wonderful experience.
We have one aspect of the building that is extremely special. It holds the barrels that hold our fortified dessert line of port, and it is a beauty. It's a young ruby port, and we're very proud of it.
We limit our tours to about 25 people for a reason. We do not want big, gigantic tours where you feel like you're just one of many.
I believe the best part of the tour is at the tasting counter, where we have a little bit more personal interaction with our customers.
I love to sit around, talk about good wine and how it's made, where it comes from, all of those good things. And I enjoy sharing that with my guests here at the winery also.
Thank you so much for joining us this afternoon. For more information, please feel free to peruse the rest of the site or call 904-826-1594. Thank you very much, and come by and enjoy a taste of history.
And welcome back to the Sunshine Sports Report on 904 Live, on 904 Live Periscope, on 904 Live YouTube, and 904 Live Facebook.
Yes, sir.
So if you like, please share. If you think we're crazy, share that too. In fact, comment on.
Oh, we definitely want to know if you think we're crazy.
Yeah. And I told you that I'm having chicken wings Monday.
Yeah, got to.
Last Saturday, I was in the backyard barbecuing.
Okay.
Barbecuing. We barbecued. I ain't gonna tell you what we barbecued. Well, we barbecued it for the game. Not the game, but there were games. Mm-hmm. And we sat down and we watched, and I'm talking about my family, we sat down and we watched both games on Saturday.
Right.
And let me tell you, we were treated to two really good games, I think.
Yeah.
Did you have a chance to watch it?
I didn't get a chance to watch either one of them. Unfortunately, I'm unable to get to a TV on the weekends.
Can you TiVo it?
No, I can't TiVo it. However, I do get a chance to see some of the highlights and get a chance to see.
Are you anywhere where you can get a hold of the NFL Network?
No. Oh, you mean is after the games are over? Of course, yes. And I do get a chance to see. So
sit down
outcome.
and not just watch the games. Just watch the games because the Texans are over the Bills now. You know, Deshaun Watson is one of the up and coming young quarterbacks in the league.
Yes, he is.
Because not only because of his arm, but also because of his legs.
Right.
I mean, he makes things happen, both throwing the ball and running the ball.
And he makes very good decisions.
He does. But in this game, he was not the best running quarterback.
Oh no, that was Josh Allen by a long
Allen
shot.
was running that ball up and down the field.
He almost hit a C note.
Yeah. Josh Allen is because you talk about small markets and stuff like that, and players not being heard from or not being seen or unknown. I think Josh Allen has made a name for himself playing against this Texans defense. Now, the Texans defense is not what it was 2 or 3 years ago. J.J. Watt did play now. He played. He played in selected situations. And it looked like, for all the world, it looked like that Buffalo was going to win that game. Because out of the 4 games that were played this week, home field meant nothing.
Right.
It meant absolutely
nothing.
Nothing. So when you, I guess if you play in a cold weather city, say like maybe Green Bay or Chicago or where else? Where else is it really cold? Minnesota. No, not Minnesota now, because Minnesota, they play in the dome.
Well, they're back in the dome now.
Yeah, they play in the dome. So what I'm saying basically is it don't.
New England, yeah. Kansas City.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. We'll give you that. It really doesn't mean that much.
No.
It don't mean that much.
No.
And so during the course of the season, why risk everything for the home field advantage when it comes, as it turns out, it don't mean that much.
I mean, you would love to be in your home. You would love to, have your fans get an opportunity to root for you.
I don't know. I don't know if maybe it's more pressure. Maybe it's more pressure to play at home during a playoff game. Maybe it is.
I don't know. I mean,
if you think about it, maybe it is.
I mean, and then you also have the familiarity of you go through your routine.
Well, maybe that's what it is. During playoffs, it's not the same routine.
But that's what these players are trying. That's the whole mode, is to keep it as just another game.
But if you're a road team, you have the same routine.
Even when you're traveling, I mean, one of the things that the coaches try to do is they try to make it to where it's the same routine, whether you're on the road, whether you're home, they have the same routine so that the players keep that consistency going in their preparation.
Well, but it meant nothing, because the higher seeds, actually all 4 of the higher seeds almost lost. In fact, the only home team that did win had to push it into overtime to win.
Right.
So I'm just wondering, is it a detriment to play at home? Because what you're saying is almost impossible to duplicate during the playoffs.
And you also got to look at situational football. I mean, you're talking about a Patriots team that has been struggling all year long.
But they had the 3rd best record.
Because they've been playing garbage teams.
Well,
you got to play the Miami Dolphins twice. You got to play the New York Jets twice. You have a lot of garbage teams that were on that schedule. They had to play the Cincinnati Bengals. You had a lot of bad teams that this team had to play, and they were able to pad their stats against really bad teams.
Well,
so then when they finally were able to play against teams that, you know, were legitimate contenders, they lost or got, you know, came close to losing at the very least.
So what would the Saints' reason be for losing?
The Saints, honestly, I really feel as though the Saints are very one-dimensional, in my opinion.
One-dimensional, what, offensively or defensively?
I feel like they're one-dimensional as far as offensively is concerned. I feel like the Saints go as far as, well, I'll say this. When Drew Brees wasn't there, they had the opportunity for those players to step up and play. And they stepped up and they played team football. But it seems as though it's almost kind of like the problem that they had when Michael Jordan played, is there were time periods where players would just stop and just, you know, they're just kind of letting Jordan do his thing as opposed to everybody galvanizing together and playing a solid team game. And I feel like that's what tends to happen. You know, at the end, when you're in the game with Drew Brees, if Drew Brees isn't playing well, the Saints don't play well all the way across the board. And I feel like that's part of the problem.
Well, I don't think Drew played well or not played well. He was okay. He was only okay.
But that's the problem. When Drew is just okay, the whole team is just okay. Now what
about Kamara?
It has been proven that they can play without Drew Brees there. The problem is when Drew Brees comes back, they settle right back into that same offensive scheme that is all Drew Brees, and everybody else is just kind of complimenting him. And if he's not playing well, they shut down.
I heard a story today that it's very possible that neither Drew Brees or Teddy Bridgewater is on the Saints team next year.
I wouldn't say that's necessarily unreasonable. Now,
so what quarterback would they have?
I mean, at that point, you're going to have to try to work something out in the draft for free agency. There are some free agent quarterbacks that are going to be available.
Yeah, there's actually a quarterback who's under contract that's available.
I mean, no. Yeah.
So I don't see them doing that, but it's very possible. Now, remember last year, Rams, Saints,
right?
NFC Championship game.
I do remember that game.
Very last game of the conference championship. An egregious, I think it was the last play, one of the last plays. Anyway.
It was one of the last plays, and yeah, that was
a very egregious pass interference.
Right.
The rest of the playoffs.
Anybody could see that was pass interference.
Rest of the playoffs, which was the Super Bowl and the 2 weeks leading up to the Super Bowl, and into the off season, people complained, and so the NFL said, "Well, you know what? We're going to implement a rule that you can challenge a pass
interference, right?
You can challenge it both defensively and offensively. So if we make a mistake on the field, we'll correct it."
And honestly, I liked the implementation of the rule. I just didn't like the execution of the rule.
There you go, because the NFL didn't want to do it, but they knew they had to do something. And so what they did was they said, well, what we'll do is we'll let you challenge it. We'll just uphold what our officials called on the field.
Exactly. And no matter how bad it was.
No matter how bad it may look.
They still kept it.
So basically, they were back to where they started, square one, even though they had a rule in place.
Right.
Now, this was the last play of the Minnesota New Orleans game.
Right.
And we'd like to play it for you. And you said you hadn't seen it yet.
I hadn't had a chance to see it yet, no.
So if you haven't seen it, tell me in the comment section whether you think this is pass interference. It's going to be at the top of your screen. going to be the tight end.
You got to blow it up.
Tight end and the tight end and the DB. And here we go.
Is caught for the win.
So, didn't see much there, but other than the catch. So, from there,
he wasn't playing the ball. He was playing the player. He wasn't playing the ball.
What?
Absolute stunned silence here in New Orleans.
But I wouldn't say it's the
hold
same.
on. They're going to run it back.
Saints wondering if there's going to be a review for a push-off.
And you notice the commentator says,
And how
would this be a
ironic would
push-off?
that be if
That
you
was the
give
first
that a
thing that
look?
came to his mind.
Well, he definitely extends the right
clearly,
arm, but
the
from what we've
receiver-
seen throughout the year, you can't imagine that would be overturned. But, Mike, I'm going to defer to you.
Thanks. I'll give it back to you, Troy.
They don't. Nobody wants to make a call on it because they know.
But I mean, even
something wasn't right there.
Even with that being said, though, you look at the defender. He's not playing the ball. He's playing the receiver. He's not playing the ball. So it would have been pass interference on the defender.
Wait a minute.
Clearly he does get
So
separation,
if
and he
even
does
if I'm not
extend the arm.
playing you,
are
if you
not
push
going
me
to look
off,
at it.
that's
This
not
is a final
interference.
26
It wasn't.
to 20.
I'm
Let's go to
saying
Chris
that
Myers.
if you're going to call it pass interference, if they reviewed that, it could go either way. You could say that he pushed him off, but the defender definitely was not playing the ball. He had his back to the ball. He was playing. He was playing the receiver.
So it wasn't pass interference.
No, it wasn't. I mean, if you want to call it pass interference, it would have been defensive pass interference. But because it was a touchdown, it wasn't called.
Okay.
That's how I see it.
Well.
And the other thing, I only got 3 more words about that play.
So why didn't they call the defensive pass interference?
Because it was a touchdown.
Why? They said, call it. Call it because if it was challenged, then that's the reason for the rule. For you to say, well, this is what we saw and this is what happened. Defensive pass interference.
But that's the refs.
Wait a minute.
That's the refs call, though.
Wait a minute. No, it's not.
Why would the refs challenge whether it's defensive pass interference?
What now?
Why would the refs challenge whether it's defensive pass interference?
The refs aren't challenging anything.
That's what I'm saying.
No, the coach, the Saints coach said something happened on that play. It looked like interference. Okay, the officials looked at it and they said, well, nothing happened. Something happened. He either was defensively interfered with or he pushed off. One of the two.
But I'm saying the end result was a touchdown.
No, forget the end result.
You can't forget the
end result.
It's
The end
the
result.
end of the game.
Make the call. That's what the rule is there for. And if
But you're talking about make the call on a defensive pass interference, but that takes the touchdown off the board.
No, it doesn't.
Yes, it does.
No, it doesn't.
Why make the call then?
It doesn't take it off because it's your
the
rule.
end of the game.
Because it's your rule.
Oh,
come on. It's your rule.
I think
the fact of the matter is
you're being a little too subjective in regards to that.
The fact of the matter is something happened and they were able to skate by without making a call.
I got 3 words to tell you about that play.
You
like that?
Not really. I didn't like it because the NFL screwed us as fans the whole year long because they never planned on actually doing anything with that.
But I still don't feel like that was an example of that.
See,
that's like one of the worst examples of that.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is.
It's one because if you put
it was a useless foul.
Well, call it.
It was useless.
Call it.
For what reason?
Because you put it in. You said that we as a league are going to call whatever we miss. We missed the defensive pass interference. If it was defensive pass interference, then the coach the offensive coach, rather the Vikings coach could have said decline.
Okay.
And that would have been the end of it. But they didn't.
They
just walked away.
You're kind of nitpicking it.
I'm not nitpicking. I'm not nitpicking because had they been calling the correct plays throughout the year, I wouldn't have said anything.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't have said anything. But because they put the rule in and never intended to do anything with it,
yeah,
then this is where I'm at on that.
I understand what you're saying. Listen.
That's why. So because it was a lot of what do they call it, infighting.
Mm-hmm.
So was that Drew Brees' last game?
I don't know. I haven't heard anything intimating that he might be his last game or not. I feel like at this point, they'll, if the player is not definitive in saying that they're going to walk away, they give them an opportunity, go vacation, go think about it, and then when it's time to get ramped up to get ready for the season, a lot of times when the guys are, feeling these aches and pains and then thinking to themselves, man, I got to go out there now and bang my head against the wall again, that's usually when that decision gets made. I don't think the team is going to make that decision for Drew. I think Drew is
I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about, do the team part ways with him?
Now, that's what I'm saying. No, they're not going to part ways with him.
Okay.
I feel like Tom Brady and Drew Brees have gotten to a point in their careers where they're one contract guys. They're guys that even if their contract's in, they'll put them on one contract and allow them to one contract until they're ready to walk away.
Okay. Well, we'll get to Tom Brady. Tom, terrific. Seahawks, they flew into Philadelphia and beat the Eagles 17-9. Carson Wentz.
Should the Eagles have even been there?
Well, that particular roster shouldn't have been, but the roster that the Eagles built should have been. I mean, when Carson Wentz goes down, and then all of your wide receivers, all of them go down,
right?
Then you got a problem.
But even with that being said, I'm looking at it from the standpoint of you have a team that is, they at one point were they still under 500?
No, they
made 500
when they beat Dallas and then beat the Giants, they became
500.
Yeah.
So you got a team that's 500 that's making the playoffs.
They were one game. They were one game over 500.
They were one game. Oh, so they ended up going 9-7.
Yeah,
okay. But even I don't know.
Dallas, they finished 500.
They limped into the playoffs. They made it in.
They limped in because of injuries.
But I just feel like they were not.
They played very tough against a pretty good Seahawks team. Seahawks had Carson Wentz not been injured, maybe they win. In fact, the backup had more passing yardage than Russell Wilson. So Philadelphia deserved to be in there, and simply because the roster that they built would have been stronger than the one that they actually put on the field.
I think the NFC East as a whole should have just been
I did too,
completely signed out of the playoffs altogether.
I felt the same way you did until I started looking very closely at the Eagles and the Eagles. No Alshon Jeffries.
Injuries happen to everybody, though.
No, not all of the wide receivers. They were playing. Remember the guy from University of Houston,
right,
the quarterback that played for him?
Right.
He was their best wide receiver.
We lost every single one of our tight ends.
Who?
Every one of our tight ends, all of them.
Who are you talking about?
Jacksonville. I'm sorry, Jacksonville. The Jacksonville Jaguars lost every single one of their tight ends.
How good were they?
They were not good at all.
How good were the tight ends? So we don't know because we don't know. But we know. But we knew how good their wide receivers were. We knew how good.
It doesn't matter. I mean, at the end of the day,
we knew
injuries happen.
But you said they didn't deserve. So just by
I feel like if you for whatever the reason, it doesn't matter why you lose games. At the end of the day, when you lose them, you just lose them. You know, there's no excuses behind it. If you're not that good, you're just not that good. Whether it because of injuries, whether it be because of bad scheme, bad coaching, does not matter.
No, it wasn't bad scheme. It's just injury.
No, I'm not saying that's what it was. I'm just saying it doesn't matter what the situation is. We are in a wins and losses.
Eagles hater.
No, it's not.
We got an Eagles
I'm saying
hater.
it's a wins and losses league.
You want to talk about your boy Tom Brady before we get out of here?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Tom Brady looked
old.
He didn't look old. He looked maybe average.
Okay, we're talking about a Tom Brady that owns majority of, if not within one or two of the passing records in his league, and that same Tom Brady went out there and could barely score.
I will come to it.
Old.
I will give to his. I will actually be on Tom's side. Yeah. Unlike the Eagles, where all his wide receivers were injured, where Wentz's wide receivers were injured, and then Wentz went down, Tom Brady didn't have any wide receivers, period, other than AB.
What? Julian Edelman?
That was it.
N'Keal Harry?
No,
the rookie?
No.
Every single running back on the roster was a wide receiver in that New England passing game?
No. You ain't gonna win this one. No.
What are you talking about?
No.
They were all. That was their game. It's been their game. They throw to the running back.
No.
They throw to the running back.
No. They had no wide receivers. None. You could see Brady on the field. He was imploring him. He was begging him. He was asking
they
him.
Had
wait
wide
a minute.
Receivers. They just
run the correct routes. Not they're young wide receivers.
Okay.
And they're not ready for prime time.
They're not ready for Brady.
Oh yeah, I don't know.
There's a lot of wide receivers that weren't ready for Brady. Remember, they had Demaryius Thomas in there. He wasn't ready for Brady.
He was old.
They had Chad Johnson in there. He wasn't ready for Brady. There's a lot of wide receivers that aren't ready for Brady.
Brady had nothing to do
Chad
with it.
Chad Johnson was in his early 30s when he went.
Old. He couldn't
Really?
make it in.
Tom Brady is 40 years old.
He was old. I don't know how Tom does it. They need to drug test Tom. But the fact of the matter is, a 30-year-old wide receiver is old. I mean, we marveled at
Antonio Brown is 30.
Yeah.
Old.
That's why they went out and got him. And guess what?
Old.
He could.
That had nothing
He's
to do
not
with,
on the roster.
That had nothing to do with his skills on the field. That had nothing to do with him losing a step. It had to do with him losing his mind.
He's not listening to what I'm saying. He wasn't on. Tom Brady needed that, and he didn't have it. Listen to me. It has nothing to do with him being old, young, or indifferent. He wasn't on the roster. That's what Tom needed. Didn't have it.
He had receivers.
He had.
You said they were young.
Young and didn't understand. And everybody wondered, why would the Patriots bring in Antonio Brown?
They were desperate.
There you go. Thank you. And Tom looked average.
Yes.
And he looked pitiful, begging his wide receivers to make the proper cut, make the read on where to go next, make the read on the DBs.
Right.
They didn't do it.
And they really never had a legitimate tight end prospect either, because the two tight ends that they had available to them, old. One just retired.
And one should,
just retired.
So
he actually came out of retirement.
Ben Watson. Yeah.
Now that's old.
So that's the whole deal. That's the deal why New England wasn't able to score a lot of points. Offensively, they were challenged.
Yeah.
They had Tom Brady. But Tom Brady might be playing next year, but he might be playing in San Diego.
Tom Brady is not leaving New England.
I heard San Diego and possibly Indiana.
So for him to play in San Diego, that means that Phillip Rivers No, not San Diego. Los Angeles. I'm sorry.
Well, yeah, Los Angeles.
Yeah, that means Phillip Rivers is retired.
No, it doesn't mean Phillip Rivers is retiring. It means that Phillip Rivers is gone. And,
So
and I've heard that Phillip Rivers will probably wind up in maybe Chicago.
So Chicago is going to go out and get a 30-plus-year-old quarterback that has not shown that he can win the big one in this league.
Because they have a young one who's shown that he can't win the big one. In fact, he can't win anything. So yeah, because Chicago is ready for prime time. Defensively, offensively, they've got your boy. What's the wide receiver?
Allen Robinson.
They got your Allen. Allen's balling in Chicago.
Of course he is.
All he needs is a quarterback to get him the ball.
So why wouldn't that be, let's say, Jameis Winston?
It could be, but he may not be.
But why would you go out and get Phillip Rivers?
Because Phillip Rivers.
You can get a Jameis Winston.
Because they rather have Phillip, maybe, or maybe they can't get Jameis Winston. But the fact of the matter is, the Chargers probably will part ways with.
I don't see that. I see when you're.
There's going to be a. That's why your team, the Jaguars, are stuck with a $22 million albatross, is because there's a glut, certainly a glut of quarterbacks, both coming into the NFL and now moving around to the NFL. Tom Brady is a free agent. Jameis Winston is a free agent. Drew Brees is a free agent. Who else?
I feel like those quarterbacks that you were speaking of.
Bridgewater.
Eli Manning is a free agent.
Eli Manning. Well,
he's still a quarterback. He's still a quarterback. He's the same age as Phillip Rivers.
I've loved the New York Giants since 1963, folks. Since 1963, I've seen them win one game in a season. I've seen them go to the Super Bowl. I've seen Eli Manning be the Super Bowl MVP. Folks, you don't want Eli Manning on your team.
He's
Not
the same
now.
age as Phillip Rivers.
Huh?
He's the same age as Phillip Rivers. And he's got 2 Super Bowls as Phillip Rivers has
we
9.
talk about Jameis Winston being a turnover machine.
That turnover machine has 2 Super Bowl rings in
Eli
his back
Manning
pocket.
is a career turnover machine.
That turnover machine has 2 Super Bowls in his pocket.
Okay.
And you you've never seen Phillip Rivers throw multiple interceptions in a game?
All the time.
I've seen him throw 4 or 5 in a game.
But Chicago is still liking him over Eli Manning. So now that we've gotten out the fact that I think Eli Manning should walk away into the sunset.
So why wouldn't Phillip Rivers do the same?
Because I think Phillip can still play. Me personally. You may not. But he's not going to be a Charger.
We'll see.
We'll see. Whether the Chargers play in Los Angeles or San Diego.
No, they're definitely playing in Los Angeles. San Diego's done.
and we might be able to add Derek Carr to that list.
Oh yeah. It looks like they're kind of done with that experiment in Oakland
even imagine that you go years and years wanting quarterbacks, and now you got 2 quarterbacks, and you can't get rid of any of them. They have actually 3. What's Dobbs?
Speaking of which, and Dobbs. So speaking of which, that's another thing we haven't had a chance to discuss yet.
What's
We
that?
can go over real quick because I know we got to get out of here. But no changes in the Jaguar
front office.
Head coaching.
Doug
Marrone returns for another season.
I feel good about it. I have no problem with it.
With the entire coaching staff.
Well, we
intact.
don't know about that.
So far, I mean,
Well,
if you're
so
gonna
far.
if you're gonna go out there and look to replace a coach, you got to first let that coach go, and then if you're gonna get another coach, this is the time to start going out there and hitting the market for them.
Wait a minute.
Because they're getting snatched up.
Well, you talk about a new coach or a position coach or what?
A position coach, not a new coach. Because we're going to keep Marone, and it's obvious that they're not getting rid of Todd Wash because that would have been one of the first things that would have gotten announced shortly after Marone was retained.
At this point, I don't know. I don't know what they're going to do with the entire coaching staff, but I do know that Marone is back. I know that David Caldwell is back, and
just real quick, let me just run this through real quick. This is why Doug Marone was retained.
Why?
Because you have an $88 million problem in Nick Foles. You're stuck with that quarterback, and you got a backup quarterback that has a cult following, as well as he's kind of limited in what he can do. With that being said, you've got a multitude of free agents, and you're having to recover from this Tom Coughlin situation. I don't think any head coaching candidate is looking at this as a prime location to come in if you know that you're saddled with Nick Foles and Gardner Minshew for the next 2 to 3 years.
Okay.
So I felt like Shad Khan looked at them and said, I don't have a sexy job offer to put out there to compete with these other job offers, so I'm going to stay pat with what I have and allow them to dig us out of this hole.
So give them 1, maybe 2 more years?
He said it's a 4-year commitment that is 2 years in. So that means that he is saying that he wants to give them 2 more years. That's what he's saying.
So that's the contract on Marone.
He says
that's Marone's contract.
He says that what we have here is a project that is a 4-year commitment.
Yeah. This was his second full year.
Mm-hmm.
And okay, I'll go along with that.
So I would say at this particular point, expect Doug Marone to be here for the foreseeable future.
So who's
because
back?
of circumstance.
So we know, according to you, all the coaches will be back. What players won't be back?
Well, that's a very good question because Yannick Ngakoue has been on social media saying his goodbyes and running victory laps. So it's to be expected. It's to be expected that he may not re-sign. But
Yannick is not a salary cap hit, not now.
Well, I mean, the problem is it depends on if this is a personal situation, because it sounds to me like it's personal. Because I mean, if the Jaguars want to throw enough money at you, you'll return. But he sounds to me like he's telling people goodbye as though he's not intending on returning.
Okay, so he's gone. Who else is gone? Because that does nothing to the salary cap by not resigning Ngakoue.
Marcel Darius is gone.
Okay. Now that's a big hit.
That is a big hit because now you lose your interior defensive lineman.
But it's also it relieves a lot of salary cap money, like $17 million.
It does relieve a lot of money. Then you've got, I think I was told that AJ Boye's contract is getting ready to come up.
It is.
So now you've got to.
Now, do you let him go? He's only 25, 26 years old.
No, you don't let him go.
I mean, you let.
You don't have Jalen. If you let AJ Boye go, your entire secondary is now a complete rebuild.
Okay, so then you go to linebacker. There's nobody on the line. There's linebackers that are making anything.
Well, you've re-upped on Miles Jack. You don't know what you have in Telvin Smith because you don't know whether he's coming back or
we
playing.
know what we got in Telvin. He ain't coming back.
Well, he's still under contract, and he said he was coming back.
Huh?
He said he was coming back.
He might say that, but he may not have a choice. Huh?
He said no. He's still under contract.
He's under
contract. He said that he is coming back.
He didn't honor.
He said he's taking 1 year off, and he's gonna reevaluate himself and come back.
Let's put him to the side because, like I say, he may not.
Interesting.
What about Calais Campbell?
Calais Campbell, He definitely needs to be back because he's one of your best defensive players.
But if he
is your best defensive player.
If he comes back, they've got to.
They don't have to restructure his deal.
They better. They better.
If you go to Calais,
if they don't, they may not be able to sign their rookie class.
But no, I don't think they're in that type of salary cap.
Yes,
situation.
they are. They're right now. If they do nothing, they'll be like $1 million over the cap, a little bit more.
They can't be $1 million over the cap when they have so many free agents, the contracts that are ending. So there's no way that they're $1 million over the cap. I just told you, A.J. Boye is gone, Marcel Darius is gone. These are contracts that are coming off the books. They're not over the cap at all.
Darius' contract's not coming off the books.
Yes, it is.
No.
It's done. It's over. This was his last year.
Okay.
His contract is done.
Okay, so if Darius is gone, that's $17 million.
Yeah.
So who else is gone? Boye?
Boye is gone, but does he have one more year? Okay. So Boye, you got to re-sign him. You can't just let him go into you can't let him go into the last year of his contract. You got to re-sign him because he's your best corner. You don't have any other corners.
And you can't let Nick Foles go because if you let him go, it's actually going to cost you more money.
It's going to be dead money. It's not even. It's not about that. It's going to cost you more money. It's dead money.
No, it's not. It's more money.
But that's the thing. You can cut him, but the problem is when you cut him, you have so much guaranteed money that you still have to pay him. So you don't have his services, and you're still paying him.
It counts. It's
if someone's willing to. If someone's willing to.
It's 30.
Oh, so you're saying and that's another one. Fournette.
So Fournette's gone.
I mean, this is his last year. Last year of his contract.
No, he's got one more year too.
They picked up the 5th-year option on him?
That's what they know.
They didn't pick up the 5th-year option on him, did they?
So not yet. They got until May, March.
I'll have to look that
April.
I don't see that happening. Fournette is still a very, very good running back. He had a horrible offensive line and still went over 1,000 yards.
I think he had a great year.
Yeah, he went over 1,000 yards and had how many?
90.
How many catches? Yeah,
90 catches.
No, and he played.
Look at the running backs that's coming out.
Yeah, but you've already got a proven running back.
Well,
I mean, you're not going to be. He's not going to break the bank. Fournette's not breaking the bank. No running back breaks the bank anymore.
He's going to break the Jaguars' bank.
He's going to get a whole lot more than what a rookie going to get. Yes.
Yeah, a whole lot more than a rookie's going to get. Yeah.
A good rookie, you get rid of a high salary and a guy that's just a little above average in Fournette, and a quarterback that you think you don't want. If you can get rid of both of them guys and just lose a little bit of money,
okay.
I think they don't.
So losing a lot of money, just trying to get rid of them or keep them.
I don't think they're in the get rid of Nick Foles phase just yet.
I don't think so. Yeah, I wouldn't be. But in order to do that, you got to pick up 2 solid offensive.
Well,
that need to be where the money goes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
They're gonna have to. You got to get a left tackle.
They need 6 players. They need 2 solid offensive linemen. They need a solid tight end, and they need a good 3rd down pass catching running back.
Yeah.
If they do that there, then they need to focus on the other 3 players that I was talking about on defense, on linebacker.
Yep.
By the way, guys, I'm the technician in the bank.
That's what he said. But
yes, sir.
But we will see if they do that. Anything? Oh, you want to talk about coaches?
Oh yeah, there were some new head coaches that were hired.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you want to talk about specific coaches?
Well, basically, yeah, we know about the new coaches that were hired, but one particular team still has not hired their coach. But it's not in the hiring; it's who their top candidate is.
Okay.
The Cleveland Browns' top candidate right now is Urban Meyer.
Okay.
Urban Meyer of University of Florida.
Right.
National championships.
2 of them.
2 of them. Ohio State. national championship.
One of them.
And every single time it gets rough, like Fred Sanford having heart.
Wait a minute.
He has heart conditions every time it gets rough.
Didn't he coach at Boise State? Was it Boise State he came from?
Originally?
Yeah.
I thought it was Utah.
Utah. He put Utah on the map.
Yes, he did.
Came to Florida. Won 2 national championships.
Yes.
He left Florida. Florida was a little flat.
No, he had the big one.
Big one. No. Florida, their program was
He told Elizabeth he was coming to join her.
They were a little flat. He went to Ohio State.
Yes.
Won a national championship.
Yep.
But they're back in the national championship hunt every year.
Yeah. Well, he got run out of Ohio State because of the issues that came up as far as questions about the program.
Okay.
And sanctions and things that were done. So yeah, that was what pretty much.
So everywhere he goes, they win.
And everywhere he goes is controversy.
Okay.
Because last time I checked, I don't know of too many other head coaches out there that have a serial killer on their roster.
Oh, come on now. Wow. That's
serial killer, a guy that's choking his coaches.
That's hitting below the belt.
Hey.
So
just because they have a one of the 12 apostles at quarterback doesn't mean that he gets a pass.
So are you saying that wait a minute. I don't want to get sued here. Because Urban, I think you should get the job in Cleveland. I think you should get it.
Of course. As long as you just do a really good background check on the players.
But
get a psychological profile.
Wait a minute. Now you're saying he was
Criminal Minds to get the players.
He was complicit with what one of his players did.
He got him out of trouble.
So he was
the kid
complicit.
was constantly doing knucklehead stuff. He was actually. They was reported that he shot somebody while he was at Florida.
Hey, Urban. Once
he pulled
again,
a drive-by at Florida.
If you are the coach,
allegedly,
if you are the coach at Cleveland and you come to Jacksonville to play the Jaguars, look him up. Look him up because he's the one saying this. I don't have anything but good things to say about you, Urban. So that's what you have. You don't want him to get the job.
No, I don't have a problem with him getting the job. I'm just saying you just need to.
He's one of the best.
They put metal detectors in the locker room.
Wow. Well, I'm gonna let you close it out. I ain't got nothing else to say.
Hey, this has been another uproarious episode of the Sunshine Sports Report. If you like what you've been seeing and hearing, please make sure that you hit that share, comment. Even if we're not on the air, still comment on what you've seen. We will definitely work to try to respond to those comments.
Sure.
And
his name is Marlon Jones. M-A-L-O-N.
Mr.
Jones.
J1S, yes, sir.
J1S?
It's J1S.
Marlon Jones, that's him. Urban Meyer. Until next week at 7 o'clock.
Yes, sir.
On 904 Live, this has been the Sunshine Sports Report.